Before start this video, please subscribe my channel and click on bell icon. Thanks.
At the age of 9 years and 3 months, Edward VI was crowned King of England at Westminster Abbey. He died at only 15 years old and is mostly remembered as a weak and sickly king. That isn't entirely true, but there are certainly some unfortunate circumstances in his life. Maybe you've read The Prince and the Pauper, and yes, Mark Twain was writing about the boy who eventually became Edward VI, but no switching of identical boys ever took place as far as historians are aware. Of course, being royalty has its perks, but no life escapes sadness, and Edward had plenty of tragedies of his own. Related, 10 royal mysteries solved by science. 10 ascended the throne at age 9. Coronation of Edward VI, February 20, 1547. Edward was the youngest king to take the English throne at the time of his coronation, and he continues to hold that role to this day. For any regular 9-year-old boy, ruling an entire country might seem a difficult task, but for Edward, well, it was undoubtedly too difficult a task. So a council was set up to help him make decisions and, in most cases, deal with issues on his behalf. He had been a pampered child, and being Henry VIII's long-wished-for male heir meant he was prepared for the throne from birth. In Edward's case, he was born the heir to the throne and stayed that way until his eventual succession to that throne. 9. Prepared to be a copy of his father Edward VI, a tiny tyrant? Due to his youth and his father's strong and unwavering political views, Edward VI would turn out to be an extremely zealous version of his father's philosophy. This was intentional on Henry's part, and everything about Edward in his childhood, from his studies to the decorations in his apartments all the way to the very clothes Edward wore, were copies of his father's. He practiced the same sports Henry VIII is known to have excelled in and was given a strong education in evangelical Protestantism. It all worked out so that as king, Edward had such a passion and devotion to the Protestant cause that he worked tirelessly to further the success of the Church of England. He published the Common Book of Prayer and issued bans on several traditional Catholic principles. 8. His father's will left room for manipulation. The Tudors, Edward VI, Duke of Somerset and the Duke of Northumberland, episode 29. A boy king could not rule on his own, and Henry VIII was well aware of that fact. Rather than appointing a single regent to rule on Edward's behalf, Henry put into place a council of 16 men in his will who would fulfill that role. Some sources suggest this final will was heavily doctored and contained a fake signature, with the purpose of removing some of the more religiously zealous council members. It also had 2 clauses that gave extremely generous rights to the executors of his will, one of which provided 4 unfulfilled gifts to be honored. Initially, she seemed to be recovering well and spent the night following her son's birth signing announcement letters. She was also seen sitting up in bed hosting the guests of Edward's christening. It is unclear what illness Jane Seymour succumbed to and how Edward eventually felt about the loss of his mother. However, Jane is sometimes considered Henry VIII's favorite wife, due to her providing a male heir. With that in mind, Edward would likely have had a great fondness for his mother, perhaps influenced by his father's fondness for her. His father even gifted Edward his own troupe of minstrels, with the sole purpose of entertaining him. It might have seemed that nothing he touched, from his cutlery to his schoolbooks, was second best. He was spoiled to such a point that if he didn't get his way, the ensuing rage could be incredibly violent. A contemporary account claims that in one such fit, Edward tore a living falcon into 4 pieces. But Edward's diary revealed more than just his cold reaction to his uncle's execution. Edward VI's diary provides insight into the kind of man he was becoming, and it wasn't looking good. Thankfully, we don't have to think about that. 5. His relationship with his sisters was complicated. The toxic relationship between Henry VIII's children, 2 sisters. Real royalty. Edward VI had 2 sisters, both of whom eventually became queens. Mary, the oldest, and 21 years his senior, apparently loved Edward dearly and showered him with gifts and affection, even acting in a sort of motherly role. Around the age of 9, he wrote to her that she was his favorite. On the other hand, Elizabeth was only 4 years older than him, and they had a meaningful childhood bond. Upon learning of their father's death, Elizabeth and Edward held each other and cried intensely. Mary was staunchly Catholic, and this led to dramatic arguments over religion. It became such an issue that Edward decided to write his sister Mary out of the succession. Seymour was Edward VI's uncle through Jane Seymour and was a strong campaigner for more extreme reforms. He desired to break as far away from Catholic tradition as he could go and made intense, sweeping moves against established practices. After Edward's death, he even married his boyish son to Jane in the hopes of becoming the father-in-law and controller of England's first Queen Regent. He recovered, but his immunity was greatly weakened, and he eventually came down with what historians presume to have been tuberculosis. By May 1553, he was extremely ill, and the Duke of Northumberland acted quickly to ensure his benefit from the succession. On July 1, 1553, Edward was seen in public for the last time, although he appeared extremely thin and wasted. He was undoubtedly in immense pain, as at the beginning of July, he whispered the words, "I am glad to die." On the 6th, he died, and a surgeon who opened his chest after his death declared. Thanks for watching. Credits to listverse.com. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.